He's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do? We get the people! Yes! They want. Very special guest joining us later, Mariah Rose. But first, we have to discuss tonight's play-in tournament games between the 7 and 8 seeds. It is going down right across the river in Brooklyn, where KD and the Nets will be hosting the Cavs. I expect the Nets to run away with this one. What do you see happening, Mr. Rose?
I see no room for error. And when you're in a play-in game, that's a sudden death situation in a lot of ways, which means there has to be a sense of urgency. I anticipate Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are going to play with that urgency.
Yes.
As two champions, this is the stage they wanted. This is why Kyrie left playing with LeBron, left playing with Boston. This is why KD left playing with the Splash Brothers to be on this stage. And now Brooklyn is here. For a young Cavs team, they've outplayed expectations already.
They have.
Garland is in the conversation for most improved, became an all-star this year. Mobley got my vote for Rookie of the Year.
Over Cade?
I'm just too unbiased. I mean, but I have to reward winning. I really do. And his dominance as it related to blocking shots and playing defense and changing shots to go with Garland really ascended the Cavs team. They're going to miss Allen. And I know how much you love Jared Allen.
I've loved Jared Allen since
you love Jared Allen the way he loves video games.
When he was involved in the trade, I was like, wait a second, what?
Jacoby cried.
I was like, wait a second, what? They're giving up Jared Allen?
Everybody else was like, what? Jacoby? He's like, Jared Allen is good. And you're right. And he's been phenomenal this year. So I'm happy for J.B. Bickerstaff, their coach, to get them in this situation. But like you, I think the Nets prevail.
The Cavs and the Bulls are kind of the same to me. They started hot, they exceeded expectations, and then they were hit with injuries and everything just fell apart. And the Cavs down the stretch have just sputtered to the finish line. I mean, they were up high in the standings in the Eastern Conference, and now they're in the 8th seed in the play-in, traveling to Brooklyn. I think they lose to the Nets this evening, but I could see the Cavs beating the 9 or 10 seed when that second game comes around. But let's not get ahead of ourselves because
great theater.
We have another 7-8 matchup, this time in the Western Conference. And another team that has exceeded expectations, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they have quietly been playing some really good basketball, especially after the All-Star break.
Big Cat, shout to him. Now, as a big, just think about this. Talk about a skill level. He's won the skills competition at the NBA All-Star Weekend.
No, it doesn't mean much to me. The skills competition, dog. That's what
I know. The
we're saying
accolades. Chest pass.
We're giving away accolades. He said he won the skills competition. But continue.
When the last time you made a pass without doing a turnover? You do a lot of behind-the-back turnovers.
My Caucasianness will throw some thumbs down chest passes. White guys will do that thumbs down chest pass.
Thumbs down. Outlet. and so for Big Cat, I'm happy for him. It seems like they've gotten a level of toughness from Patrick Beverley and Anthony Edwards. D'Lo has always been skilled, been a clutch performer. And so they now are in position to change the narrative about what's happened with their team the last couple of years.
Yep.
So, we see Luka as a top 5 player. We see the Joker as an MVP. Is this the opportunity for Karl Anthony Towns to now ascend himself?
I'm sorry, sir. You know what? I agreed with you all the way up until you started talking about Karl Anthony Towns in the same breath as Luka.
Is this an opportunity, though? That's my point. This is the stage where that happens. It's one thing to celebrate what happened during the regular season, but can Minnesota actually do something in the playoffs? The Clippers are a good matchup for them.
Oh, yeah. The Clippers are good. The Clippers are tough.
But can I say something that I said off wax? Zubac be balling.
He does.
Let's make sure when y'all watch this game, y'all remember that Jalen Rose told me Zubac be balling.
Nobody talks about Zubac. No one has said Zubac's name into a microphone all season long.
You get a small guy on him, he gonna punish you, elbow you, and dunk on you.
Yes.
Reggie Jackson be getting buckets. Man be getting buckets. Paul George is back.
Look at Zubac. Look at that guy.
And how about Ty Lue as a coach? Turn down the Lakers gig. Y'all don't want to pay me my bread? Cool, I'll wait. Get the Clippers gig. Have a better record than them. by miles without Kawhi Leonard. This is going to be a great matchup.
This is going to be a great matchup, and like the Eastern Conference, I expect both of these teams to end up in the playoffs. And if I'm the Grizzlies, I don't really want to play either of these teams. Like, if you're the Grizzlies right now, Ja's coming back, the Timberwolves win this game. Next thing you know, you've got a 7-game series with the Timberwolves. That's a tough series. That's going 6.
That will be a tough series. And just imagine, though, Pat Beverly being an irritant, literally playing against Ja Morant if they were to play against one another in the playoffs.
We're going to get to it, but you know my criteria for Defensive Player of the Year, right?
What's that?
The person I don't want covering me. And Pat Bev is one of those players I do not want covering
man, get off me, 94 feet.
I will get kicked out of the game in the first 3 minutes if Pat Beverly is covering me.
Denying you the ball, breathing in your face.
So I know that yesterday was one of the most stressful days in the calendar for you because you had to put in your votes. I know you had. It's not just the votes that stress you out. It's logging into the system. You know what I mean? And actually putting your votes in. And one of the most critical votes, and I'm gonna say in my lifetime, I've never seen an MVP race this close.
I agree, family.
Between the 3 big men. Who was your pick? Jokic, Embiid, Giannis.
I've been voting for a long time, and I'm really fortunate. I take it serious.
Take it very seriously.
It's an honor to be one of the probably 150 human beings that actually vote on this. And so you got to take everything into account. You got to split hairs with these great players. Like, Giannis has a better record than Embiid. His stats are just as good, and not better in certain categories, but I still have Embiid higher than him in the race. Because those 40 and 10 games just stand out to me how dominant physically he's been all year. And it was great to see him play as close to a full schedule as possible.
Yep.
Deal with the Ben Simmons the saga back and forth. Deal with James Harden being traded there and still leading the league in scoring like a Moses Malone did in the 80s, like a Shaquille did in the 2000s. But my winner is the back-to-back champion, the Joker.
Jokic.
And you know how much I like Giannis. Like, I was trying to look for ways to give it to Giannis. I love Giannis that much.
I can make a case for all 3 of these players.
No doubt.
Giannis, you could say
shout to Devin Booker.
Defensively, he's better
best
than both
player,
of
best
players.
team. Shout to Jason Tatum. The Celtics are number 2 seed. But like, shout to Luka, the only guy 28-8. But when you the only guy in the history of the NBA have a 2,000 point, 1,000 rebound, and 500 assists
say it again.
season.
Say it
2,000, 1,000, and 500.
The only player in the history of the NBA.
Ever. And so when that happens, that's longevity because he's playing a lot of games. That's sure dominance. And how many games has he led both teams in points, rebounds, and assists?
Most of them.
Correct.
Most of them.
Just think about that. And he leads his personal team in points, rebounds, assists. Let me take a deep breath. Blocks, steals, and field goal percentage.
So, Jay, you mentioned 6 players. Which one did you leave off between Booker, Tatum, and Doncic?
Ooh, I believe Tatum.
Yeah.
Ended up on the second team.
He had a great season, doesn't mean he didn't. Now, another one that is very close this season is Coach of the Year. I could make a case for 5 coaches.
Literally.
I could make a case for 5 coaches.
Literally.
Who did you vote for Coach of the Year?
And by the way, shout to Ime Udoka. You know what I'm saying? Because for them to be the number 2 seed and people were questioning his job, questioning whether they should break up, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, for them to ascend the way they have has been phenomenal. Eric Spoelstra, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Taylor Jenkins, how they play with and without Ja Morant to be the number 2 seed. Monty Williams, how his team ran away with the best record in the league, and my choice ended up being Taylor Jenkins.
Really? You went with Jenkins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, let me tell you why.
Interesting.
Because Desmond Bane is only in Ja's not playing. Dylan Brooks missed 68 games.
No one talks about that. It's one thing about this Memphis season, which is underrated, is the fact that their second best player wasn't there for the majority of the time. Their best player wasn't there for a lot of the time.
To me.
And they still ended up with the 2 seed in the Western Conference.
And so Jaren Jackson Jr. deserves consideration for all defense and defensive player of the year. He's been an anchor down there. And so for what he's done with this team, and now how they've all developed together with no player being older than 28 years of age and Steven Adams being their highest paid player, I just couldn't ignore the great job that Taylor Jenkins did.
He has done a great job, man.
Better record than the Warriors.
One thing that we're known for here at Jalen and Jacoby is being ahead of the curve. And one thing we do is we introduce our audience to people that are going to explode. It's happened time and time again on this program. It's about to happen right after this very short break. Who is joining us? What future superstar is joining us right after this?
She represents the University of Georgia Bulldogs ATL stand-up. Mariah Rose of Buckets is joining us next.
Rose, who is joining us right now?
My daughter, Mariah Rose.
What's up, everybody?
Not only a terrific student and represents the Georgia Bulldogs to the fullest, and peace up, A-Town down, but she also works for Buckets and has her own show called Untitled.
Yes, Mariah's Untitled Basketball Show. Tune in on YouTube.
Absolutely, and she's in New York City to cover the WNBA draft.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. What was the atmosphere like?
It was incredible. For it to be their first one in 2 years, I think was one of the most special parts. But we were just talking about how, like, a draft is so amazing because it's like everybody's dreams just coming true. So, like, witnessing that, watching the moms get up and cry and just everything. But I will say I was fangirling a little bit. Rubbing elbows with Lisa Leslie. Nothing like it, like legendary. So it was absolutely incredible. I had the time of my life.
Is there one particular pick or one particular team that you felt like had to come up last night?
Oh, obviously the Atlanta Dream, #1 pick, Ryan Howard. I was so excited about that. I feel like bigs are evolving. I was just talking to my dad about this morning, but it's like, you know, we had the whole Steph Curry wave of like everybody wanted to be a guard, everybody wanted shooters, but I feel like bigs are catching up with the like shooting and like being able to do more and being more versatile. So I've noticed that being the pattern. So I don't know what's going to happen when all the bigs start shooting threes from everywhere. It's like the NBA is just going to grow to 7 feet and the W is going to go to 7 feet. But Ryan Howard was definitely a come up for us. So I was happy.
Jalen, I have a question. What about the fashion? You know what I mean? That's a big part of the event. What about the fashion last night?
So what I noticed is we're moving away from Kanye West, monochrome, everybody in brown and black, other than me. I mean, I saw lots of color, lots of snake skin. Like, everybody just pulled out the color. And the sneaker game, I mean, the dunks I saw, the Jordans I saw, everybody was super fresh. So it was dope.
Mariah, you're an industry tastemaker, a brand ambassador. You have 1.5 million people following you on TikTok. And I know you saw Russell Westbrook talking about his coach, Frank Vogel. What are your thoughts on Russell Westbrook saying that his coach really wasn't vibing with him from the beginning?
Well, first of all, thanks for the come up. I got 4 million likes on TikTok.
Oh,
I'm not at the 1 million follower. I'm not the 1 million follower mark yet, but 4 million likes.
The show just got cooler.
You know, you feel me? So I just had to, you know. But Russell Westbrook, look, you may not know what Frank Vogel's problem with you is, and that's fine. I, however, do. You were the worst shooter in the NBA at one point, and I'm not making that up. That's not biased. Like, you literally were the worst. I watched you pass balls into the crowd. I watched you miss wide open layups to win the game. Like, come on now. All of America knows what Frank Vogel's problem was with you, bro. Like, his comments, just take some responsibility. We love you, Russ. Just take some responsibility, please.
And he never put him on the bench.
Yeah.
That's one thing that never happened. I felt like he should have done that.
He talked about it. He wanted to.
He never did, though. He never did.
Well, the one time that he did come off the bench, Russ went into the postgame and said something very similar of like, oh, well, I wasn't playing, so I couldn't help us. But at the time, he was leading the league in minutes played. I'm like, is he not reading this stuff? Like, it was confusing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And the Atlanta Hawks are involved in a play-in game tomorrow. What are your expectations for this team? Are they going to make the playoffs?
See, the way I survive as a Hawks fan is having no expectations. So I watched them beat the Suns, the Warriors, the Nets, the Bucks, all in person. I also watched them lose to the Pistons on a random Tuesday. So I feel like I can't have too much faith or I'll get nervous, but I will say I believe that Trae Young's going to have a big game. It's going to be like nice to see him and Melo go at it, but I think he's going to have a big game. He loves a big stage like this. So I think I can see us doing it. A lot of people have big moments against the Hornets, so I think we can do it.
And the Hawks did make the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Trae Young, as you mentioned, is ready for the big stage. But let me ask you about two other players that have been on the big stage and performing. KD and Kyrie are in the playoff tonight against the Cavs.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll get into the playoffs, and do you think that the Nets can make a run in the East?
Well, similarly to March Madness, I will say, in a play-in type format, the best team doesn't always win. So there's always a possibility there, but Kyrie and KD are going to get it done. Kyrie is going to have a crazy game. I can already feel it. They're going to get it done. KD is not afraid of any pressure. He just goes out there and hoops. And so I think that the Nets are going to get it done for sure. A run, though, I'm not expecting a run. I could see a first-round exit just because of the whole defense problem. But, I mean, like, they'll have a couple 150, 125 games.
The whole defense problem. The whole defending the other team. Defending the other team part is not their strength. But, you know,
they'll score a lot of points, but we'll score a lot of points, too. So, but I think that they're going to get past this.
You do make a good point because the play-in tournament is sort of like the NFL playoffs or like March Madness. Like, the best team doesn't always win. In a 7-game series, you see the best team win often. And this evening, I would say that the Timberwolves are a better team than the Clippers. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win. Who do you expect to win in the Western Conference play-in?
So I expect a big game from Cat. I love Cat. I think that we don't talk about him nearly enough. So I hope he gets more accolades in the future. And like you said, I think that this is his opportunity to like cement himself as like, look, I'm a star in the league. Like, hey, talk about me. Like, hey, look at me. And so I really think that the Timberwolves are going to do it. I think they've outplayed expectations. So I don't know about the Clippers. The Clippers are really good, and I've enjoyed watching them, but Timberwolves are going to take it, I feel like.
Mariah, before we let you get out of here, and thank you for joining us, we hope that you could be a special correspondent for the program moving forward. Nah, this job doesn't pay much.
Zero. $0 is the offer. $0 is the offer.
But we love to have you on the show. But I have to ask you, as the NBA season has ended, what is something that stood out to you from the season that was like notable? Like maybe it's a fashion choice, maybe a team outplaying expectations, a player that ascended. Like what excited you the most about this NBA season?
Generally, I can't even just pick on one thing just because this season was so incredible because we never knew what was going to happen next. Like everybody was like blowing our expectations in different ways. And I just feel like this was because we had that whole stretch of just Cavs, Warriors, Cavs, Warriors, Cavs, Warriors. I feel like I genuinely don't know who's going to win the championship. I genuinely don't know who's going to win the play-in. I genuinely don't know what's going to happen. So I feel like that's the best part of this season. They've kept us all on our toes. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun and it's going to be really different from past seasons. So I've been enjoying every minute of it.
You can catch Mariah on YouTube and with Buckets, the Untitled Basketball Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to having you back soon. We'll be back soon right after this very short break. Jalen and Jacoby want to thank Mariah Rose for coming through. You know, she covered the WNBA draft, and there's a story in the WNBA that we will not let rest, and that is Brittany Griner still being detained in Russia.
And I saw the WNBA commissioner come out and vent some frustration over her still being detained. We at Jalen and Jacoby shared that disdain. 54 days is way too long, and we're just sending prayers and well wishes to her. And hope she has a safe and speedy recovery back to the United States.
So, Jalen, I'm proud of you for getting your votes in for the regular season awards in the NBA. And I'm also proud of you that you didn't vote for Cade Cunningham a Rookie of the Year. You're a Detroiter through and through, but you didn't even vote your own guy as Rookie of the Year.
I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to, for sure. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to vote him for MVP. You know what I'm saying? Forget Rookie of the Year, by the way. MVP.
Maybe one day we will. Maybe one day we will.
But in all honesty, like what the Cleveland Cavaliers did out of the gate, they were like Mike Tyson fighting Peter McNeely. They got straight out of it. They hit the Eastern Conference. They were top 3 or 4 seed the entire year. He was an anchor for that. He's a big factor of that. His scoring, his shot blocking, his improved jump shooting. The sky's the limit for his potential. And the same for Barnes and the Toronto Raptors. Like, they're about to get the Sixers all of it they can handle. And he's going to be a big reason. His defense, his physicality, his ability to finish around the hoop. Like, both of those guys contributed so much to winning and outplaying expectations that I couldn't just vote my guy like I wanted to. McKay had a great rookie year. So many other rookies played great. Look at Jalen Green at the end.
So many.
Yeah, this is a terrific
Jones,
rookie class.
And Kuminga, like there's so many great rookies. This is a great class.
But the thing I will say, K validated going number 1. Well deserved.
He did. He absolutely did. Now, Jalen, I was surprised by your biggest surprise of the NBA season. You said it was the Boston Celtics.
It is, because just think about it. As the January 1st came around, people were talking about, could Brad Stevens come back and coach the team? would he already let Ime Udoka go, who he just hired at his first head coaching job? People are talking about breaking up Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown.
Yeah, they were.
You know what I'm saying? Marcus Smart is my defensive player of the year. They were the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference.
And before Robert Williams got hurt, the day he got injured, they woke up as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference that day.
If you would have told me they were going to finish ahead of the Bucks, finish ahead of the Sixers, finish way ahead of the Nets, I would have been surprised by that. My biggest surprise was the Memphis Grizzlies and just how they performed without Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks. Without Dillon Brooks for the majority of the season, without Ja Morant, they played 25 games and they were 20-5 without their superstar player. That to me was the biggest surprise of the season, but there are still going to be some surprises, maybe even this evening as we watch the playing games, and we'll be back tomorrow, ESPN2.